In the early years, Disney had a series of animated films that underperformed both critically and financially. Then in 2009, they released The Princess and the Frog, and it kicked off a return to the critical and financial success that they saw back in the 90s. Well, hitting theaters this week is Frozen 2, and that means we're gonna stop and rank all 10 Disney revival films from the worst to the best. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Sean Chandler, and I love to talk about movies way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of all 10 Disney revival films. My list isn't the right list, it's just my list, and I would love to see yours. One final thing before we get started, if you've ever dreamed of being a YouTuber or talking about movies for a living, you don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, you just need to check out Skillshare. Skillshare is an online community of creators with thousands of classes in design, business, and more. Premium memberships gives you unlimited access so you can join the classes and communities that are just right for you. If you're interested in doing what I do recommend checking out Jordy Vanderput's classes on learning to edit in Adobe Premiere. He's got both beginner classes as well as more advanced training. Right now, Skillshare is giving away a free 2-month all-access trial to my subscribers who click that link down below in the description. In just the last 2 weeks, I personally have learned how to share ideas from Simon Sinek, social media strategy from Gary Vaynerchuk, and how to get started in stand-up comedy. So if this YouTube thing doesn't work, Skillshare's got my back. Once again, you can get unlimited access for 2 months for free if you click that link down below in the description. After that, it's only like $10 per month. With that said, let's get started. In last place is The Princess and the Frog. Disney took the princess idea to New Orleans and put a whole new spin and twist on the classic frog and princess tale. The animation here is absolutely gorgeous, as you'd expect from Disney, and they even find some very creative ways to visualize some of the songs. All along the way, it subverts your expectations of where you think the story is going. Every time I thought it was playing into a genre cliche, it actually did something totally different, and in that way, it's kind of like a prototype for Frozen. But the story's swamp setting leads to a whole bunch of just base level humor, spit, mucus, toothless flies. There's literally a scene where someone is shoveling poo. Likewise, the main villain with this voodoo bent gets really dark and creepy at times, and it just makes for a setting that I just don't really enjoy being in. My wife actually really enjoys the songs from this movie. I don't personally find them all that memorable. So while I respected a lot of what they did with the story overall, the execution itself didn't really appeal to me. Coming in at number 9 is Ralph Breaks the Internet. Now, this one was actually pretty divisive because a bunch of you absolutely loved this film and thought maybe it was better than the original, and then a bunch of people kind of agreed with me that this one was pretty disappointing. Now, granted, this movie has no shortage of laugh out loud moments. It's got iconic sequences, it's got heartfelt moments, and the cameos here are absolutely fantastic, especially when it gets into the Star Wars stuff and the princesses scene. Amazing, amazing stuff. But a whole bunch of the internet culture humor inside of it, even the title of the film, felt outdated before the movie even came out. And I also found myself cringing just as much as I was laughing at it. And then the main conflict of the film was resolved about 75% of the way through the film. So they took Ralph's character arc and promoted it to being the main conflict of the third act of the film. And I just did not like how that played out at all. Both how literal it was or just in general, it did not work for me and left a pretty sour taste in my mouth. The first half of this film, I was thinking I might like this one more than the first, but it really fell apart for me in the second half. The next 8 are all pretty great. It's a little bit like trying to rank your kids, which according to my wife, I need to stop doing in front of my kids. But please be kind in the comments section if one of your favorites is a little bit lower on my list. At number 8 is Winnie the Pooh, a light, unassuming continuation of Winnie the Pooh's adventures. It has all the style, the humor, the wordplay that you expect from a Winnie the Pooh film, and each of our characters get their own little sequence where they get to be in the spotlight and have some nice little moments. In an era where normally movies are going for bigger, louder, faster, this movie relies on the classic wit of the source material instead of just pouring more energy into it. While this movie absolutely accomplishes exactly what it's trying to do, I have it ranked a little bit lower on this list because it's the least ambitious film here. The runtime is only slightly over an hour, and it's intentionally episodic by nature. At number 7 is Moana. Disney's take on the Polynesian mythology is led by a fantastic lead character in Moana. She's strong-willed, she's proactive, she's determined from beginning to end, and there's no need for like a romance inside of it. She just works on her own. Of course, the songs here are fantastic, the main standout being Where I'll Go, and then Hey Hey is just a fantastic scene stealer. In general, this movie just didn't quite engage me as much as some of the films higher up on this list. It felt a little bit like they were trying to squeeze all this mythology into the Disney template and formula, and Maui at times, a little bit frustrating and annoying for me. Still, if this movie's at number 7, this is a great list of movies. Next up is Big Hero 6. This is one of the least Disney-feeling animated films that they've ever created, and I don't think that's a bad thing. It's a nice change of pace. But while it feels very different from other Disney films, in classic Disney style, it finds a way to kind of take new and different types of stories and make them about family and friendship being found in unexpected places. There's also a lot of fantastic world building going on with this film as you're off in this futuristic world with robots and all kinds of cool gizmos going on, but it also manages to still be grounded because of the family dynamics inside of it. The story has a bunch of twists and turns inside of the narratives. For me, they all worked, they all landed, I bought into them, and I felt like they felt true to what came before, especially when it comes to the villain, who's written in such a way that he's absolutely villainous, scary at times, and his actions can have dire consequences, but by the end of the film, we understand the mission that he's on and why he's doing it. But the real entertainment value comes from Baymax. He's just such a delightful, cute, innocent, heroic character. Put all the pieces together and you get a very unique, distinct Disney animated film. Kicking off our top 5 is Zootopia. When I first saw the trailers for this one, I actually thought it was gonna be a dud. I didn't get a good vibe for the humor or the characters, the story inside of it. Luckily, I was totally wrong, and it absolutely won me over with its charming and quirky characters and this unique world that was built. The film follows a familiar buddy cop template, with the by-the-book cop being partnered with a loose cannon that won't follow the rules, and if this was an action comedy, that might be a bad thing, but it's not. It's an animated film about animals and prejudice, and so it takes kind of these tropes of the buddy cop genre and mixes it with the tropes of Disney animated films, and when you put them together, you get something very fresh, new, and original. But the glue holding it together are these fantastic characters that are just perfectly different from one another, so their chemistry works on screen. You want each of them to succeed for different reasons, and it just makes for an adventure that you want to be on. At number 4 is Frozen, with a spellbinding mix of irresistible characters, classic songs, and truly hilarious moments. This movie just dominated the box office and became the highest grossing animated film of all time. Instantly, both the songs and characters became pop culture icons. They're memorable, they're quotable, they're sing-alongable. I think I just made up a new word. It's a movie that gets the specifics so right that you can forgive kind of some of the faults inside of it. I think this movie has a pretty unbalanced story. There's a lot of things going on, and the pacing always felt a little bit off to me. As a case in point, there's 7 songs in the first 35 minutes, and then there's 2 songs in the next hour. The first act always feels overly long to me, probably because the runtime is padded with a classic song every 2 minutes. And then the second half of the movie felt like they never fully ironed out all the wrinkles inside of the movie. This is a perfect example of how you can have an imperfect story, but if you get all the stuff that matters right, the characters, the songs, the emotions, doesn't really matter that there's some holes inside of the plot line. Real quick before I give you my top 3, remember to share your ranking down below in the comment section. As I said before, my list isn't the right list, it's just my list, and I would love to see yours. Also, after this video is done, if you want more content like this, check out that playlist up above. It's got some of my other Disney rankings, the Renaissance, the live action remakes, the Pixar animated films. It's all up there, and next week I'm gonna rank the post-Renaissance films, the movies from the year 2000 to 2009. New video coming next week. In third place is Frozen 2. After 6 years in hibernation, Anna and Elsa have returned, and I think this one's actually just a little bit better than the first film. Since all the characters are established at the beginning of our story, that means the story's able to be more focused. We're able to get more time with each of the individual characters, and it's balanced a little bit better, and dig deeper into their relationships with one another. This movie makes the wise choice of doubling down on the mythology of the magic, makes the world seem bigger, the danger more palpable, and the magic itself more intriguing. Now, I don't think the third act quite lived up to all the setup of the first 2 acts, but otherwise, this is an improved sequel on an already solid original. Our runner-up is Tangled, Disney's return to a tried and true formula. Absolutely paid off. Sometimes you want something fresh, new, and subversive. Other times you just want a classic story template executed with excellence. And that's what this is. Here we have a princess who's lived her entire life in captivity and a dashing outlaw who's lived his entire life freely but for himself. When their 2 lives combined, you get a fun adventure that has all the hijinks, humor, and emotional payoff that you want. The songs can be a little bit more pop, but that doesn't make them any less good, catchy, or memorable. And Rapunzel's kind of slow discovery of her true lineage leads to just some wonderful payoff in the second half of the film. It's a tried and true template led to a modern Disney classic. But coming in at number 1 is WreckIt Ralph. It's a video game movie about a video game that never existed, featuring a bunch of video game characters from games that do exist. Over the last 10 years, a whole bunch of films have tried to do stories about characters inside of our technology. But WreckIt Ralph wrecked all the competition. The central premise about all the characters and all the video games at an arcade kind of living in a community together and the villains having their own little support group is a really clever and fun setup for an animated film. Likewise, the script is nicely constructed to balance the fun with these themes about knowing who you are, as well as a bunch of twists and turns that I thought actually worked inside of it. But the real magic here are the delightful characters that you love seeing them interact with one another, and you want to spend more time with them. And of course, it's jam-packed with fantastic cameos. All of it feels like a well thought out world and script. It might feel a little bit more like a Pixar film than a Disney animated film, but who cares? It's fun, it's funny, it's heartfelt, it's emotional, it's great. It comes in at number 1. Remember, you can get Skillshare for 2 months for free at that link down below in the description. If you want to have more content like this video, check out that playlist right over there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.